I've always been a fan of sausage rolls, and I think a good sausage roll done well can easily stand up against any of the fancier things that you might get at a buffet or at a celebration. And as well they should, because a sausage roll really should be a thing of great joy. Simplicity done very well indeed. And I don't mean those ones that you get in the high street chains that have got pastry that's like cardboard with a sort of very greasy aftertaste, with a filling that is pink, squeaky almost, with barely any meat in it. And if there is any meat, then it's very well hidden. Now, I mean a sausage roll where all the ingredients are very simple, very good quality, not much has been done to it, but you have a fantastic flavour explosion in your mouth. This batch of sausage rolls is inspired by my love of a full English breakfast. I've kept it really simple, and in the filling I've just got some great sausage meat, some fantastic black pudding, and I've just finished the filling off with a little bit of apple, which adds a wonderful sharpness and a nice hint of sweetness that goes so well with both the pork and the black pudding. And I've just sprinkled the tops with a little bit of fennel seeds, which adds a nice aniseed flavour. And the filling is as adaptable as you want it to be. Sometimes I'll go very spicy with the sausage rolls, sometimes I'll keep it very plain and simple, but at the end of the day, as long as the ingredients are really good quality, then the humble sausage roll can be turned into something absolutely quite majestic. A good quality pork sausage meat is absolutely essential in a sausage roll. The cheaper ones tend to leach out a lot of the fats in there and the water and anything else that they just pump in to bulk it out, and you end up getting a very soggy mass in the bottom of the baking tray, which is really not what you want. I love bacon jam. It is absolutely a fantastic ingredient. Wonderful, just slathered over buttered toast. Great with the cheese, especially goat's cheese. But it is wonderful just added to casseroles, to sauces, that sort of thing, just to really pep up the flavour. You can buy it, but it is quite expensive. But it is really great fun to make. And I've put the recipe link for this in the description box with the video. If you don't want to use bacon jam, you can just use a good quality smoked bacon. Don't go for the streaky bacon though, because there's too much fat in that, and it's not going to render down enough in the relatively short time it takes to cook the sausage rolls. I've got a good quality black pudding here, and it's a very inexpensive ingredient, but it is really, really good, and it adds a beautiful flavour and lovely spicy notes to the filling. Just using a standard apple, which I've picked from the tree, but any apple is absolutely fine. Sometimes I'll go for a Bramley apple, so it's slightly sharper, which works really well with the filling, but any apple. And it's really worth going for an all butter puff pastry, because that way you get that beautiful, rich, buttery flavour, and the pastry will melt in the mouth. If you go for the cheap puff pastries, which are made with oil, they'll do the job in terms of rising very, very nice and flakily, but often they can go quite claggy in the mouth. They can leave an aftertaste. And what I find, especially if I'm going to have sausage rolls, for example, when they're cold, there'll be almost a greasy film in the roof of my mouth that tastes absolutely horrid. But a buttery puff pastry, you won't have any of that at all. I want the pastry to go as far as it can so that I can get as many sausage rolls out of this mixture. So what I'm going to do is, rather than roll this out very, very, very long and thinly, because I'm going to run out of room on the work surface, is I'm going to roll it out a little bit, and then I'm going to cut it lengthways down the middle to give me 2 strips. And then I'm just going to get a batch of sausage rolls from one strip and a batch from the other. It just makes it a lot easier. A top tip with pastry is, rather than just put all the pressure on rolling it out in one go, is take the rolling pin and just gently but purposefully make vertical indentations along it, and that's going to very gently expand the pastry, and then give it a turn and do the same the other way. And it just makes it slightly thinner, and easier to work with. And then you can just do the rolling out. It's worth just giving it a half turn every now and again. So I'm going to put one out of the way and deal with the other. And I now want it to have just a little bit of width as well. Don't worry if it's not perfectly rectangular, because all of the slightly rougher parts of this are going to be hidden. Don't worry if they're not perfectly rectangular, it really doesn't matter, because what's going to happen is you're going to fold the pastry over the filling, and where it meets, you're just going to pop that underneath, so it's not going to be seen anyway. I've skinned the sausages and I'm just grating the apple into the sausage meat. You could also add in there things such as finely chopped onion, some dried apricot, maybe a little bit of grated cheese. All of those combine to give a fantastic sausage roll as well. And now I'm just going to go in with my hands and mix it all together. It's wonderful. And I'm just putting the black pudding down the middle of the pastry. You can chop it, you can go coarsely, you can even just work it into a paste and spread it over there if you want. But I just want to have nice chunks of it all the way down the middle. And then all I'm going to do is take the bacon jam and I'm just going to dot a little bit of this all the way over the black pudding. Then I'm just going to take the sausage meat and then just pop this right down the length of each. It's worth doing it with your hands, it's just a lot easier. Just a small handful at a time. And just lightly pat it down onto the bacon jam. And then brush the pastry lightly with beaten egg and fold the pastry carefully over the sausage to seal it and pop the seal underneath. And when they're sealed, just brush very liberally with beaten egg. And then it's a matter of deciding where you want to cut them. You can have tiny ones, you can have large ones. I particularly love cutting off the end bits because those little mini sausage rolls are fantastic tasters. And then just pop these onto baking sheets lined with greaseproof paper. And the greaseproof paper will not only stop the sausage rolls from sticking, but more importantly, it will stop the bottoms of them from going too dark or from burning. Because if you put these straight onto the baking sheets, because it's going to be baked in a very hot oven, the bottoms are prone to getting very, very dark very quickly. I often then put these in the fridge for about 20 to 30 minutes or so while the oven heats up, just to make sure that the pastry is very cold and the butter in it is set, and that's going to give me really nice light flakes in the pastry. If I put them in the oven and the pastry's not cold enough, then what might happen is as soon as it gets the heat in the oven, the butter is just going to melt and ooze out, and it's got nowhere to go apart from forming pools of butter all around the bottom of the sausage rolls, and you don't get very light pastry then either. You can make a few cuts along the top of each of the sausage rolls with a knife or a pair of scissors. I often go with a razor and just make a few slashes right across, and it gives quite a nice finish. And if you want to, you can just sprinkle over some seeds. So things such as sesame seeds are fantastic, onion seeds. I love using fennel seeds, and fennel goes so well with pork. I've set the fan oven to 190 centigrade, and these are going to go on a high shelf for about 20 to 25 minutes until they're nicely risen and a beautifully deep golden brown colour.